Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into the strategy behind Nandana Lokuwithana and his Onyx Group. Specifically, how this Dubai-based chairman is orchestrating a really significant industrial and now financial expansion in Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it's a fascinating setup. You've got this dual base, right? Onyx Group in the UAE that's been around since 2005, bringing in the international capital. And then in Sri Lanka, you see the LANWA brand really focus hard on heavy industry.
And the scale we're talking about is, well, it's substantial. Verified investments of at least, what, US $630 million?
Minimum, and specifically targeted at high-tech, export-focused ventures. It's a very deliberate capital deployment.
Okay, so let's break that down. Pillar one, the industrial base, that really kicked off with acquiring Ceylon Steel Corporation, CSC, back in 2009. That was a former state asset.
Right, CSC was the foundation. But the really big push seems to have happened more recently, say post-2017. They started building out this, well, you could call it an industrial triangle.
An industrial triangle. Okay, what are the key points there?
First, there's the Ferentino Tire Corporation. Huge investment, US $250 million. It's designed to be one of the biggest tire plants in South or Southeast Asia. And the key thing is it's like 80% geared towards exports. Plus, they've committed to sourcing all the raw rubber locally.
Right, so high-tech export focus, but also plugging into the local supply chain. That's smart. What's the other corner of this triangle?
That would be the LANWA Sounds the Cement Corporation. Another big facility, maybe $80 million plus, aiming for about 3.6 million tons capacity per year.
Okay, so first, steel with CSC, now cement. Controlling core construction materials. Makes sense.
Exactly, vertical integration. But the really interesting part about the cement plant isn't just the scale, it's the logistics.
Logistics. Always the bottleneck for heavy industry, isn't it? How did they tackle that? An $80 million plant needs a lot of movement.
Well, this is where it gets pretty clever. They built a dedicated 2.4-kilometer covered conveyor belt.
Conveyor belt, directly from the plant.
Directly to the Hambantota port. Deep water port access. It completely bypasses road transport for their main input-output, slashing costs and boosting efficiency.
Wow. Okay, that's a serious competitive advantage. Ties into their whole mantra of using state-of-the-art technology for world standings, I suppose.
Precisely. It shows that long-term thinking.
So controlling steel, controlling cement, optimizing logistics, that's a powerful industrial base.
But they didn't stop there, did they? This is where the story takes another turn, moving into finance.
Absolutely. This shift happened quite recently, around May 2025. We saw Ceylon Steel Corporation itself move to acquire a big stake in Hatton National Bank, HNB.
HNB, one of the major private banks. How big a stake are we talking?
The purchase was for Rs $13.82 billion, and the stake acquired was exactly 9.99% of the voting shares.
9.99%. That specific number jumps out. It feels calculated. Why not 10% or more?
That's the strategic part. That 9.9% makes him the largest single voting shareholder in H&B. Maximum influence at the board level, you could argue, but crucially, it keeps them just under the 10% threshold. The regulatory line. Crossing 10% usually triggers much stricter oversight from the central bank, doesn't it?
Exactly. So it's maximizing influence while minimizing, perhaps, the regulatory burden or scrutiny. It's quite neat, really.
And the capital for these big local moves, like the H&B stake, we assume that ties back to the international arm, the Onyx Group in Dubai.
That seems to be the engine room. You look at their assets internationally, like the US $225 million Marriott Hotel Al Jadaf in Dubai. That shows significant liquidity, the kind needed for these large strategic plays back in Sri Lanka.
Okay, so let's pull this together for everyone listening. What we're seeing is the construction of essentially two pillars of influence.
Yeah, on one hand, you have growing control over fundamental industrial inputs, steel, cement, optimized by things like that conveyor belt, real infrastructure power. And on the other hand, now you've got this strategic foothold at 9.99% in a major financial institution, HNB.
It's a powerful combination. Which leads us to the final thought for you, our listener. Given this group's history of using offshore capital to build these vertically integrated industries, how might this new influence within a major bank, even at 9.99%, act as an accelerant? How could it potentially amplify their expansion and influence across the wider economy, moving beyond just controlling their own supply chains? Something to think about.